One of those things that I just realized too, while I was playing a music bed earlier and I really liked it, and all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, there's 2 minutes before the show starts. I should get everything loaded up together. And that's what happens when you listen to something real quick and you're realizing that you look at the clips going, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I should update these clips. But anyways, that's just a video thing in my head. Welcome to another episode of the Tigers Minor League Report Recap Week 9. So we're recapping all the affiliates and the Tigers as well, because the Tigers did play a offensive slug fest on Sunday, which was something that caught us all surprised. I'm Rogelio Castillo, alongside Miss Chris Brown and Brandon Day. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channels. Our numbers are up, and our Rainer Castillo video is up, catching his first single A start on Sunday. Was that Sunday?
Yeah,
Chris?
I believe
okay.
Saturday, I think.
Was it Saturday? Okay. Oh, I felt like it was.
I don't think
Sunday.
They don't play. Oh wait, no, you're right. It was Sunday. I was
Okay.
confused because the Complex League doesn't play on Sundays, but he was in A ball, not Complex League.
Yeah. And a pretty decent outing too, hitting 90. I believe he hit 98 a couple times. So getting some more swings and misses towards the latter part of the start. And we're gonna kind of do a new format a little bit so we can make things a little smoother as the questions come up. Of course, if you have a super chat question, we'll answer that relatively quickly, but we'll try to put in the questions towards the end of our statement a little bit, so that way it just flows a little easier. We can get through things quicker. And yeah, so as the questions come up on chat. So we did get a couple questions this evening, some Matt Manning bandwagon questions that Brandon received. And I want to give a couple compliments to, we had a couple of nice comments last week on the show. So thank you for people, a couple people, Matthew Wood, who's a longtime listener, who's listened to every single incarnation of Chris's and I's show. So going back since 2016 now. So
and we have a long time pre SRD days.
Yeah, pre MCB days. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a throwback there. So, but yeah, so Sunday's game was the equivalency of just pure madness. Toronto fans were losing their minds a little bit. The Blue Jays are basically at the point where I think they're trying to tear it down a little bit. And there's an account that somebody posted this account, and I wish that we could, something that we have thought about doing for a while, maybe watching games and having like live commentary while watching the game. I think it'd be kind of cool, but it's also very involved. Yeah. But it was something I saw and I thoroughly enjoyed. And I think you'll get a kick out of this too. So if you talk about people that live by the pitch and every single pitch and Tiger fans are just the same, wait till you meet these guys. And I'm not sure if, go ahead, Chris.
They were exactly right too. They're like, don't hang the slider. Don't hang the slider. And he's like, whoop.
Yep.
Like, oh no.
Without further ado, let's see if you guys can hear this.
Please, for the love of God, put a fastball upstairs. For the love of God,
don't hang the slider in there.
Don't even throw the effing slider. Fastball upstairs.
Yeah, not wrong, bro.
He's looking over the heart of the plate.
Yeah.
And you do it again. Yeah. No, you're shitting.
Ball
you're
game.
Fucking shitting.
That's the game.
Oh my God.
We lost.
This team.
We lost.
How does this team lose?
We are allergic to winning.
They find ways to lose I've never seen before. Time to blow it up. Oh my!
This is the part I don't get. What's going on here?
Here we go. Blow it up.
What's going on there?
Oh yeah! Blow it all up, everybody!
11 runs! We scored 11 today!
But it's the Toronto Blue Clouds! Romano! This whole team, it's the whole pitching staff. It's the whole pitching staff. This is a joke. This is a joke. It's
It's just like, how do you even come back from it?
Almost come back and win it, and then give it up in the night.
How do you even come back? How do you go forward with this?
You can't. Honestly, You fire John Schneider tomorrow. I don't even care, man. It's not even like his fault. It's the pitching staff. You just got to do something.
Oh man. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
who was it?
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
The Riley Green truther? I don't know his who found that.
Yeah. Will. Yeah. Props to him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's we've all been there, and what the thing is, the tenor is completely different, right? Because the Tigers pitching was garbage all game. And you could tell from the beginning when Casey Mize, after the first inning, couldn't get anybody out, couldn't get any swings and misses. It was like 8-pitch, 9-pitch at bats, hard hit contact every time. And just we're like, oh, you got to get them out of there. But it didn't matter because no matter who they put in, they were just giving up shots left and right. And it was, but it's a good testament too. That winning with bad pitching is a lot more fun than losing with bad hitting.
Yeah, you can't spell fan without crazy person, right? So
yeah. You can't. Yeah, you can't spell fan without fanatic. Yeah,
we needed Mason Englert to come rescue us. So that tells you about where we were at. I mean, Tyler Holton and Jason Foley both just getting bombed on. We've never seen either one of them give up home runs like this. Obviously, Holton's only been here a year, but neither one of them is going real well. I tried to write an article this weekend about options for the Tigers bullpen, and it turned into like a 2-paragraph little yeah, we're fucked.
Yeah, no, I had Mike, Tiger Mike on Twitter send me a text, and he's like, "Do you have any options down Toledo?" I said, "No." I mean, if you want to make Brent Hurler, and I used Chris's slider, 50% swing rate of his slider as an idea out of the bullpen, which isn't a bad idea, but I thought about it. I just used that stat. I'm like, well, unless he's throwing slider the whole time, and I said that where you got that stat from. And by the way, if anybody wants to know where this sweet hat that this anonymous gentleman who I don't know at all personally in the chat want to know where you got this hat from, you go to the SeaWolves minor league store right here, and you can buy this fake throwback box. How do you say that correctly? I'm not.
Fullback?
Fullback hat.
Bit of a ringer in the chat. That's all I'm saying.
So, I don't know who that guy is. I guess he's a broadcaster of some sort. I'm not sure who he is, but
he had a fun week.
Yeah, he had a fun. Oh yeah, he had a fun week. Oh yeah, against Altoona.
Oh,
I was there Friday, and we'll talk about. When we get there, we'll talk about. Actually, I saw a couple things in Erie that were actually encouraging. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
There's some trade crew stuff, but the rest of. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that a little later. But no, I mean, the biggest thing that I took away too was from Sunday's game was that Kerry Carpenter has established. We haven't really talked about this a lot, if not often enough, but Kerry Carpenter is legitimately the Tigers' most successful minor league story in quite some time. Yeah. And he's a 19th round draft pick. That is something that, whether you want to give the credit to him seeing a swing coach or whatever the case is, he's also becoming a top 5 outfielder. His numbers, his defensive metrics are really good. And I think Tiger fans, I mean, everybody, call him Kerry Bonds, what have you, but it's quiet. He's quiet. Maybe it's just me. It just seems like he's going about it quietly, I guess.
Yeah, well, he's still getting, kind of platooned a little bit, which is, now really starting to infuriate people. And I kind of feel like it's like we're kind of at a point where you're going to see AJ Hinch start to dial back on that. All the last 3 seasons, we've seen AJ Hinch just play Jenga with the lineup the first couple months of the season, and then start to kind of settle into, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. He's been trying to use Carpenter to get his lefty mashers in there and stuff, but just leave Carpenter alone at this point. There's got to be somebody better to pinch hit for, because every time he comes in, he's doing damage. And of course, some of that damage is because he's being used the way he is. We do have to keep that in mind. But I think now that you see his defense getting a lot better and him just kind of looking like a more solid player overall, you might as well just let him run.
Yeah, I've been tempted over the last couple of years to compare him to Matt Joyce as kind of just like he's just going to be death on right-handed pitching and hit a bunch of bombs. But yeah, I think he's so far he's been a better hitter than Joyce was, at least early in his career. I think Joyce had a pretty nice peak there, but he was pretty much just a platoon guy his whole career. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't know how much more he has to prove, really. Honestly, I guess it is just trying to keep everybody in the right position to take advantage of whenever they can. But yeah, I mean, he's he had a slump early, but he came back, and when he's hitting, it's tons of damage, and that's what they need. So, yeah, they should be playing him all the time.
Yeah. Seems like everything he hits is hard in the air somewhere. So yeah, and they need the help. Although I look through this offense and I just keep thinking, like, if Spencer Torkelson was just having a solid year, this offense would be reasonably good. Be like not bad at all. They're not hitting left-handers, other than Andy Ibanez, and teams are matching up against them that way. And they haven't had that much of a good answer, but they're not that far from being a pretty solid team overall. And it's really the bullpen that has just gone completely into the toilet this year. And, maybe that was somewhat foreseeable because they didn't, they kind of stuck with their guys. And if you just keep hanging out with the same relievers year after year, eventually it's going to go bad for you. None of these guys is elite. They did do a few things to get Chapin and Miller in there, but neither one of them was going to be like a, some kind of bona fide closer type dude. So they've got a lot of depth, but they've also got a lot of problems right now. And, they're going to have to solve them internally. We saw Tyler Holton pitch really well last year. There's a couple other guys too. Chris Fetter's just going to have to do some magic and get these guys sorted out. Cause yeah, as we've said, there's just not much at Toledo until you get down to, starting to convert Manning or convert Montero or Madden or Herder. Andrew Magno's looked pretty good so far here and there, but he's had some blowups. And Freddie Pacheco is, probably their best pure relief prospect now. And he's still not going to be back for, probably 2 months. And we have to see how that goes. He was wild when he left. Tyler Madison blew his elbow out. They traded, who'd they trade for Canna?
Blake Holub.
Blake Holub. Yeah. Okay. So, they're kind of running low on options right now.
Yeah. And Flores is injured right now. And even Flores is not even necessarily an answer.
Yeah. It was
and so
shoulder issue.
Yeah. AC joint.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Sounds like he's throwing again. So maybe it wasn't that bad, but yeah.
It's been a weird year of shoulder injuries in the system. Evan had that big long list of all the injuries he tweeted out the other day, and it's like, man, shoulder. Like, what's going on?
They stabilized the elbows, and then it just spread. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even like if you're thinking about even, for example, there's somebody who comments every time we post anything about Ty Madden, just totally rips them apart. I don't know who this person is, but it's every single time it's whether on YouTube or Twitter, it is the same thing. Like, Madden sucks. It's like,
some college rival.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it sounds like visceral to it, but no, I think there's something to be said that even the possibility of even converting something like Ty Madden at this point, if desperation reeks of that, but
well, you feel like
we've
seen Ronaldo Lopez, we've seen Michael King, we've seen a couple really good relievers get converted back to starting, Jordan Hicks, and do well so far. So I mean, you can kind of take that as a hint that it's okay to convert them and use them that way to introduce them to the major leagues. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not like they're all going to end up being starting pitchers for the Tigers anyway. So they might have to go that way. I'm sure they don't really want to do that right now. But who else has the stuff? Kiter Montero has good enough stuff. Madden and Herder have enough stuff to get guys out at the major league level in kind of a limited role and capacity. So they might have to do something like that, but yeah, I don't think they're going to rush into it either. Miller's back rehabbing this week, so I guess hydrodissection of the ulnar nerve is not that big of a deal. It just sounds like it is.
I think that's just they just used a water pick on his elbow.
Yeah, they just blast some water in there and you're Gucci. So.
You see,
sounds like some sort of dental procedure.
Yeah. You see that Greg's comment here, and I just checked it up, and it's confirmed. Angel Hernandez is retiring.
Oh,
he has reached a settlement with Major League Baseball and is out of there.
All right.
So, I mean,
that's really good. If they could just cut down on like the 3 or 4 worst umpires, you'd be in pretty good shape. The more I watch minor league ball, the more I appreciate the major league guys, except for the worst.
There's a couple guys in AA this year that has been terrible. Like just watching some of the AA games.
Yeah,
have been just something. Yeah, there's some calls and feel sorry for Greg during a game where he's sitting there like just right, strike, and it's not really it, but like it's this
is the Wyatt Langford strikes out without ever seeing a strike. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal. I could do that. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? CB Buckner needs to go, by the way. CB Buckner.
CB's next.
That guy's horrible. So
yeah, he is pretty bad.
Yeah, there
Wow.
we go. All right, no more Benny Hill music there, but yeah, so that is breaking.
Enrico Palazzo calls.
Yeah. So no more.
but-
Yeah, no more of that
Interesting.
nonsense. But
Wasn't
yeah,
expecting that.
well, I guess he came to a settlement agreement, so good. It makes other Cubans look bad. So he does. I mean, he's Cuban,
So
and
we only see blue with him.
Oh, man, we can go off the rails real fast now if we want.
yeah, we're not going down that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but no, as far as like, there's so a possible solution to all this too. So apparently he's a really nice guy, and that's probably the case. Is that you always hear that, like, oh yeah, he's he sucks at his job, but he's a really nice guy. So, but
Tough break.
no,
big league.
yeah, there was an interesting article that came out on, I believe it's Birds Watcher, which is the fan-sided site for the Orioles, and they came up with a trade scenario that I'm really kind of gay. I don't really, as my dad would say, gay. I'm not really entirely sure with this, and so it is a going in on all, going in and to get the World Series in 2024. And the gentleman's name is by Tim Smart. And as a fellow fan side writer, I get, you gotta write for clicks. I get it. It's fine. Content, maybe, depends. But legitimate like baseball content where possible scenarios, maybe I might be foolish on this, but he made a suggestion. He said, let's go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off. The Orioles should trade Jackson Holliday. I know what you're thinking. That's fine. But let's walk through it. The team won the AL East for the first time since 2014 and just the second time since 1997. It goes on and says the Orioles' window of contention is as open as it ever will be and shouldn't wait until midsummer to bolster the roster. The thing about Jackson Holliday is, well, he's an elite prospect. He's not helping the Orioles win right now. And so he goes on saying, and Gunnar Henderson's a budding superstar. He's a blow in the league right now, and goes in all his numbers and everything. So his idea is that for the past, there's so subset of players who make sense at a trade like this. There's just one out there, and the Orioles should strongly consider it. And that would be one, Derek Skubal, for this, I believe if I got this right, for Jackson Holliday. Or he goes, maybe the Orioles have to send Cade Popovich or Enrique Bradford along with Holliday to get the deal done. No. You give me everybody.
Yeah,
I am 4 or 5 players.
Yeah, give me your Povich, give me your Bradfield, give me your Norbies.
Give me Norbies. Yeah, give me Nobi. Get the hell out of here. One-on-one trade. All right, if you're going to make a trade scenario, at least make it somewhat palpable. A few years ago, I got some crap for about my Tyler O'Neill idea. Didn't look that bad now. I mean, and I also made it somewhat palpable. Kobe Mayo. Yeah. Ask for everybody. Ask. But come on. Come on. I get why he's doing this. We're talking about it right now. So mission well done.
Yeah.
But come on.
This has been brought up in my in a couple of threads on Bless You Boys as well. I mean, I'll trade Tarek Skubal for Jackson Holliday right now, like that, like immediate, instant. But Mike Elias is not in the business of like giving away elite prospects just for this year. Their pitching staff isn't that bad. They're winning. They don't need the help that badly. So, I mean, it's nice to like think about that. I think we probably would have to send a little more, actually, to be honest. I mean, Skubal's great and everything, but they're not desperate enough. So if we wanted to convince them, you'd probably have to, I don't know. I don't even know what you'd have to throw in, but a fair bit more to convince them to do that, because it's just not going to happen. I'd love to think about it. If people want to think about trading for a shortstop, though, Bo Bichette is starting to make a lot more like feasible kind of sense of, if anything. But I mean, hey, if you can get him, I'm all about it. And then you just sign Roki Sasaki, add him to the rotation with Job, and then you get JV back, and then you sign JD Martinez to DH next year, and then we just rock, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Orioles didn't get where they got by trading elite hitters at elite, the toughest defensive positions for, it's not short-term help. I mean, Tarek Skubal might be the best pitcher in baseball for the next 3 years, for all I know, but I wouldn't be shocked. But, it's also a pitcher, and he's had Tommy John surgery and elbow flexor surgery, and he's pumping 99, 100. So yeah, I'm not opposed to trading Tarek Skubal. You're just not going to get that though. Would love to.
Yeah. Sean with if we get Roki, there's a Chris Brown pun alert there. But no, if you're making a trade offer, make it a little more realistic. Is my point. Like if I don't mind if they traded Tarek Skubal, if that's the route they wanted to go, provided that they get a return. And the only thing that I'm concerned with is what Scott Harris can do with that for 2 years of control. And then in exchange, you get a player like potentially, but I don't know, like, you're here's the reason why Bichette sounds good to me too. Bichette was a pain in the ass all weekend against the Tigers. It just, he hit timely hits, and he's just a guy who defensively has good range too. I mean, again, but that's also, Javi Baez ain't going nowhere unless they make his contract, disappear. But it's not, I don't know, like as much as I like to, the older I get, the more I do this, the more I try to stay away from those kind of pie in the sky kind of ideas, which is, it's just because like, I just know this front office just tends to has been so far like flavor of yogurt so far has been plain.
It's really hard to imagine them having the balls to make that trade, even though that trade is obvious. But a trade of that scale, they just don't, And I mean, I don't want to dog them like, oh, they're scared of a big trade, but right now they're just still like, we don't 100% believe in this team. I mean, that's the message they've sent, I think, to me, and to the fan base over the last offseason. That we're not going to go crazy. We're going to see how the young guys develop this year. Try to get into contention at least, and see maybe how things look. But they want to know what they have a little bit more. They're not going to be that aggressive. I think that trade would be a no-brainer. But I don't know if we can push them into something else. There are ways to solve the shortstop problem because it's so bad that wouldn't even require that much if they actually just want to solve it. If you just want to get a 90 WRC guy who can, play average shortstop, it's not cheap, but it's not like unfindable or going to cost you a ton necessarily either. But but solutions like that might be more reasonable than hoping for the super big trade. I just don't see them doing that.
I don't know about you, Chris, but I mean, as far as like what we saw with Ryan Kreidler and Eddie Leonard this week, I mean, I know there's no, I guess, there's no, in terms of internal solutions, those are the ones that are coming up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see those guys before we see any sort of trade, for one. And they're at least another week rehabbing, maybe still down in Lakeland, or they may get sent back up to Toledo. But they're both just coming back from kind of long-term injuries. I don't listen, that's it. Fans will make that deal all the time, right? Yeah, let's just trade Skubal for Holiday. Sounds good. The GMs don't work that way. They've got it everything. Like people talk about, Holiday, you'd have him for 6 years. Skubal's 2.5 years. There's some question about if Holiday can actually play the left side of the infield. His arm is the one thing the tool that's maybe not average. So he might be a second baseman, which, that's fine, I guess, if he's going to be as good offensively as we think, but it might not be your answer at shortstop. So I don't know. It's fun to think about that, but I don't think the Tigers or the Orioles would ever have a serious conversation like that.
Yeah. I mean, both are Michael Elias has been very conservative. Outside the trade, they traded Ortiz because they really had no other choice to, and they were kind of forced to a little bit. But they have so many of those guys who are back of the top 100 that they can just deal for whatever they need. They're going to keep Holiday. They're probably going to keep Mayo and Kauser, and they've still got Herstad and a couple other guys they could deal. So they just don't need to do it. They have no need to push that crazily hard.
And that was a trade where they got Burns, right? Who was has a longer track record than Skubal, honestly, of being an elite pitcher. And they got him with 1 year left for much cheaper. And they may be content to do something like that in a couple of years rather than, spending it all right now. So, I don't know. Fun to think about, fun to talk about. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. As much as, it's one of those things where it is one of those. And I mean, the one thing that does help, and Sean mentions it here, that Michael Elias does have an owner that wants to win. So now that the Angelos family is gone, you don't have to worry about cheapskate McGee over there. Then that does help, and that gives and that's dangerous for Baltimore, because if it's anything like there was, if it's Baltimore's producing the same kind of talent they did from the mid 60s all the way up till 86, 87. I mean, you're talking about a run there where they won a couple World Series. They were consistently one of the best teams in the American League, year in, year out, pitching galore. They developed. I mean, they had Cy Young Award winners. They had MVPs. I mean, this is if you're talking about old school Baltimore baseball, this is if with the owner like the way they have it now, that could be a potential down the line because the way they're developing right now, and that's a scary thought considering that the way they've been drafted and the way they've been producing talent better than any organization. You know, you look at Houston now. I mean, Houston's struggling with a little bit right now, but Baltimore's starting to get it everywhere. And even they're going international, which is something they have not done until recently. So on the international side of things, now they're actually, you know, it is a very fascinating evolution within the last 5 years of this franchise to look out for.
And obviously they came from Houston. I mean, they were the biggest part of turning Houston into the juggernaut that they became. And I think Houston is probably back down to more like an above average front office and analytics group and player development staff now. Like they're still good, but you know, a lot of the top talent left. You know, that's just what happens when you get to that point, and it's in Baltimore. And so that's who you need to be looking out for, because they're going to be really tough. But the Tigers themselves are in the position to like trade prospects for needs, not so much to trade Tarek Skubal. If you trade Tarek Skubal, you're kind of saying like, well, we're punting on next year too. You know, and at that point, I don't know, then you might as well almost start tearing this out. Like we trade Reese Olson. You know, what do can you sign Riley Green to a long-term deal? Because if not, you start having to. I just don't think we're going this route. I think they're gonna try to find low cost plug in and play type of help that isn't going to be real impactful. And if Spencer Torkelson or Jace Jung doesn't join the band and start wrecking shop, then this offseason we have to, you know, look into some kind of serious retooling of the offense too. But they're going to give those guys time and try to understand fully what they've got there before I think anything major happens.
If I'm Baltimore, I'm doing everything I can to get Gunnar Henderson to sign the Bobby Witt contract, right? Like he sign that guy for 15 years.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Really good.
But again, that was something that Houston. Well, I guess they kind of did that with Altuve, didn't they? But I don't think they extended anybody other than him.
Nope, not
no
Springer.
No
Correa.
Yeah. So, but still, yeah, he might be the one. Go ahead and do it. He's not even 23 yet. He's got like 4 wins already. He's good. So
yeah, as well. I mean, he's the future of your franchise right there. But no, at any rate, enough about Baltimore. Let's get back with the Tigers a little bit. But the Tigers this week take on the streaking Pirates a little bit. The Pirates have been playing better as of late. They have probably one of the best. Arguably, we're missing the chance for Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, and so we'll get that Wednesday. For I think we're going to that game Wednesday. Yes, I think we're going to that game Wednesday. It'll be Skeens against Jack Flaherty tomorrow. But we still, I mean, Pittsburgh has Jared Jones, who's been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So the Tigers don't have an easy break this week. I know that we always joked around the Tigers of trying to force a rivalry with the Pirates, and Thursday's matchup is it's a weird 2-game series, and then they head off to Boston. Yeah. So I don't understand. I wish we could have a little more with the Pirates, but either way, it is what it is. But next 2 games should be a challenge for the Tigers offensively as well.
I'm hoping they get to play them. It looks like there's rain in the forecast both days. So who knows? But
looks particularly bad tomorrow. Yeah, which would be
a Wednesday doubleheader with Jones and Skeens.
7 inning games. No, I don't know. Yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah, better than. Just say the last weather around here too has been just windy and unseasonably, or just been cold. So, one thing
the Tigers might be better off to miss both of them, to be honest. If that's the way it goes, it might be better off.
So 2 Tigers did make the prospect team of the week. From last week was Trey Cruz, who went 12 for 21 in 6 games for Erie. We'll get to them as a little bit, like I mentioned earlier. He had I was there Friday, and and Roberto Campos, who went 11 for 22 with 11 RBIs in 6 games for West Michigan. I'm pretty sure they use one of her clips too on their TikTok or on their short stories.
Hey.
So, but they had against Parker Messick, who also, I mean, he looked really good. Another Cleveland pitching prospect that's just going to develop into probably a beast. But yeah, so that was good news for the Tigers out there. And here's what I saw Friday. Trey Cruz in the ball extremely hard, had really good. He had a pair of hits, strong contact. He's been walking more, striking out less. And yeah, that's a good thing to have. Ben Algeri Chris Myers had a couple hits too.
Mhm.
But I don't know what is with Altoona. I just don't get it. And Greg was, let's just say, frustrated.
They came in there with like, there were like 12 and 30 on the year, something like that.
Yeah.
And then just out here bombing home runs left and right. And yeah, I think Erie hitting did we find the correct number of how they hit like a dozen double plays during the week, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was a dumb series. Dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
But they did win the final
dumb.
game, so that was
Yes,
nice.
they did. Yeah. But no, it's like I said, with the Tigers' upcoming series against the Pirates in Boston, it's not going to get. Boston has one of the best ERAs in the American League, which was unexpected, very unexpected.
Yeah, pretty much out of nowhere. I didn't really see that much.
Cutter Crawford.
Yeah,
13 double plays. 13 double plays
in 6 games.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, that was. That was just. Yeah, that was terrible. I was gonna try to use this off the Frickers building. Just how absurd that was. Just absurd. 13 double plays.
Jeez.
Yeah. I'm sure Gabe Alvarez somewhere was smiling. No. It was a good crowd though. Friday was a very good crowd. It was teachers' night and a very good walk-up crowd. There was a line. I was walking in, and the traffic downtown Erie was a little crazy, which I wasn't used to, and got down there, and it was a really good turnout on Friday, and the fireworks and all that. So, but yeah, it was just it was a situation where Chris goes, "Let's see Austin Bergner pitch," and I was like, "Well, I mean, I was trying to confirm some notes. I was doing confirm some notes on Gage Workman, but also Trey Cruz because I've been noticing his footwork similar to Workman with his feet, and yeah. So I just wanted to see, because I know in June we're spending a lot of time in West Michigan because the Whitecaps we are due to go to Whitecaps games. They play Great Lakes this week, and we'll win on that too. So, any other Tiger thoughts before we move on to the notes, if you will?
Yeah, nice to see Colt Keith get that first big league home run. That was pretty awesome. And he's been great the last couple of weeks, just like we told everybody that he would be. That he always adjusts. It always happens. It's kind of funny. Yesterday's game was so crazy that Spencer Torkelson had a double and a big home run and I think another hit, and it was just kind of like the 8th story of that game.
Yeah,
where it's like, all right, well, good for him, but look at all this. So
Matt Verling had 2 home runs, and
one of them like 2.5 feet inside or something ridiculous. It was I think the 5th furthest inside pitch for a home run since they started counting that sort of stuff with StatCast.
Yeah, just a screamer. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Wenzel's cooled off a little bit, but he continues to kind of do his thing. Seems like he's settled in there okay, and Riley's struggled the past couple weeks, but I still see him like kind of getting a little bit unlucky. Like he's hit a lot of hard hit balls to the outfield and along the lines that just went foul. I think he's fine. I don't really see any problems there. Torkelson just doesn't seem to be able to really get it into gear though so far. So that's still a problem. But the pitching staff's been good. Maeda pitched a better game coming back. Flaherty, Olsen, and Scoop still look awesome. And I don't know what happened to Mize the other day, but he had nothing on Sunday, so it really looked kind of bad. So I don't know. We'll see if we can turn that around.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Keith for the week went 7 for 18. 6 games, so it's just an indication that even with he's walking less, he's striking out a little more, but that's okay. I mean, when you're slugging, when you have an OPS over 1,000,
yep,
take all day away. So
And can Reese teach Mize to throw a good breaking ball? Well, the problem is that Reese has had 3,000 RPMs of spin on his slider and sometimes his curveball all the way through the minors. I mean, he's always had really nasty breaking balls. Casey has never had a good breaking ball. That was one of the knocks against him when he got drafted was that, and the fact that his fastball was still just kind of mid. So the whole profile seemed to develop or to depend a lot on, command and having a dominant splitter. And it's just impossible, I think, or at least really hard to judge how good a splitter is going to be against much better hitters. It's just a hard pitch to kind of grade in college, probably. So there we are. Lesson learned. If it doesn't have a dominant fastball or a dominant breaking ball, don't take his ass in the first round or two.
Yeah. Well, and then, his fastball looked better early on, and it's just regressing pretty hard to the point where he added the sinker back again to get a different look. And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, he got all that extension going again and was throwing 97 with, pretty good IVB and ride and everything. And it just has not really been the weapon for him. I keep screaming for the knuckle curve more. That's the only thing I can really think of to do. He's thrown some better splitters lately, so maybe there's a little more feel on that to come. But I just, it's not like it's too hot to be any more than a back end guy right now.
Yeah.
Knuckle curve should be thrown more. I completely agree with you guys. By the way, the Tigers are 4-1 in these jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay. I got this jersey for free. Thank you to the Detroit Tigers. They did it because I'm a social media influencer, whatever you want to call it. That's cool. I know people don't like this. I get it. They don't like it. But did you see Toronto's today?
I like him a lot better than most. Yeah, I'll say that much for him.
Yeah, this right here. I don't know if you guys has anybody seen Toronto's city jerseys?
Actually, did not.
You did not see Toronto's city
No.
jerseys, Chris. I will show you right now what City Connect jerseys the Toronto has right now. And they're not pretty. It looks something. Somebody mentioned this, and it does exactly looks like what I think it looks like. You'll see it as soon as you'll see it, you'll totally see it. You can't unsee it.
Ooh.
What the hell?
Yeah, that is the. You know what it reminds me of? Fraser.
There's a lot of dark on dark. I'm just not
Yeah.
that big of a fan of those combos, but
and Tigers, they're saying they're just going to keep wearing them right till they lose.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can wear those on the road, can you? I guess there's nothing that says you can't, but I don't think teams wear them on the road.
not. Yeah, AJ said they were going to wear them Tuesday and Wednesday, so maybe that'll be as far as it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, there's just jerseys, gentlemen. But yeah, there's. Yeah.
Oh, let's real quick talk about Manning being a reliever before we leave Detroit too.
Yeah, right.
Just because there's a question about that.
There is, and somebody also mentioned the Cardinals City Connect. I did not have a chance to look at the City Connect jerseys for the Cardinals. Let me see this real quick before we move on.
The Lou on it.
The Lou.
The Lou.
Okay. Sure, I guess. Show it to the crowd, everybody here. The hats are terrible. I'm sorry. It looks okay. Okay, you're gonna give me crap about the Motor City, those one. That's fine. But the Lou, does anybody call it? I mean, maybe I'm not from St. Louis, but anybody call it the Lou? When I think of the Lou, I think of the bathroom in England. Yeah,
I think of Lou Whitaker. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Lou Brock.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Lou Brock.
It made me think of Lou Brock, and then it made me think of that story from the Deadspin writer about Lou Brock naked in the press box or press room and or the locker room. And
oh yeah,
Dan is
he
correct.
wasn't just gifted with speed.
The only time the Cardinals have worn a red jersey during their history, which is really weird to think that. But anyway, all right, the Lou, yeah, whatever. I don't know, but
I'm not a jersey or hat person, so I don't care. Everybody can wear whatever they want. Wear a nun habit out there. Go for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
As you were, gentlemen. All right. So we had a question, correct?
Yeah, from was it Mitchell Stancic? Just about can Manning be converted? Would Manning work in the bullpen? I think they should try this now because I just don't think unless Manning is out there throwing 97 that the rest of the stuff is going to play that well. And we've been trying to get him to throw hard and just air it out for a long time. This is the way to do it. And I kind of start to feel like they don't need him as much as a fifth starter because I think Herter's been pretty solid for the most part. And they've got the other options there coming. So I'm not quite so paranoid about not having backup if would something go wrong. So I would like to see him try it just because they kind of need something like that right now. But it's just kind of a measure where Matt Manning is that I don't know if any of us think he's going to be that much better there either. But he's got to try something different, because this isn't, he could be this guy and just bounce around as a 6 starter for a few more years. But and maybe some teams would take a chance on him because of the extension and past history and things like that. But that slider just isn't very good. And until he's thrown a lot harder, I just don't think it's going to be. So, he's developed the splitter, and, I've seen some good ones, but there's still no consistency there. And I'm just fed up. It's just been too goddamn long, guys. He's like 26 or something almost now.
Dude,
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't even considered putting Matt Manning in the bullpen, but yeah, why the hell not? What's go for it. Like, somebody was asking, what's the difference between Mize and Manning? And I think Mize, stuff wise, is not all that different. I think Mize has just a little bit more aptitude and compete, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe just get Manning out there angry, throwing as hard as he can. That's all we wanted ever, I think.
Yeah. To get that competitive juice up where he's just like angry and like, going after people, and you just don't see it. He's just cruising in stoic mode at 93, 94 all the time still.
Yeah, maybe he thinks maybe just think of like him when we hear Jim Leland yell at him, like just alone, just going, stop from the fastball.
So I think we have different recollections of what Leland was mad about there.
Okay.
Although it doesn't really matter. Well, I thought he was complaining that the fastball was working well, and then he threw the slider and got hit hard. And he was like, "What the hell? You're getting outs with the fastball. Why do you bother throwing that slider?" I thought that's what he was complaining about. But then also
maybe because I thought he was talking about like he wanted him to throw. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was a kid. Maybe that was the case. But by the way, here's a fun stat for you: why Manning would work better out of the bullpen. Second time through the order, teams this year have hit 318 off of him. Third time through the order, it's even worse. 379 with a slugging percentage. It goes from 386 second time through the order to 655.
Yeah,
with 2 home runs. So that'd be something to be said about that. Also, we have a first ever donation that I'm actually going to play the person who donated it. So thank you, Dan Hasty.
Dan Hasty done it?
Exquisite.
Oh, nice.
I just got a notification on my phone. I looked down and it said you received, and then Dan Hasty. So Dan,
thanks, Dan.
Exquisite.
And also I'm going to play you some.
Now that you've paid us, we'll come out and watch a Whitecaps game.
The Frickers building.
I know what you guys are doing. You're just waiting for Clark and McGonigal to get there. You refuse to go there until they're promoted.
Hey, you know what? No, it's not here nor there. Come on.
A lot of it is me. Like, ordinarily, we would have been out there several times there, but my life situation has changed enough to where I'm like, I don't know. But they're. I don't know. We talked about it before, and we could talk about it later. But they ended up being a lot more interesting this year than I expected. So probably should have been out there by now. But that's just the way it goes.
Guilty. Yeah. Not to mention too, is just between the day job. Actually, my day job's actually been pretty crazy. But I like what Sean said here. Manning is a non-tender guy. He's Adam Bonero. I don't know, man, Bonero. Oof. I mean, it's a weird comp, but no. But other jokes aside. One thing I did notice that Manning started in Toledo is his velocity. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. When we saw him in Toledo, his velocity was going down as the game went on, right? Like just
that was it was opening day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I
wasn't maintaining his. I don't think he was maintaining velocity. That was something I went back through my log earlier.
Yeah, you were charging his pitches that day, so I didn't. I didn't pay as much.
Yeah, as it went on, the velocity wasn't maintaining. So I think there might be something to be said about that, actually. So,
gotta try something, like he says. I mean, I won't go Adam Bernero, but he's either going to figure out a new role for himself pretty quickly, or that it's a wrap. It's a wrap on your kid. And he's kind of a look reliever, like you can kind of view him that way. So, whatever, they should try it at least. I don't know.
Yeah, and the bullpen did not do too well in Toledo this week either as a bullpen, but one bat that continues to be consistent across the board is Dylan Dingler, who has just been striking out less and hitting with power.
Yeah.
It's been a very positive development. I will say that obviously it's still only May, but if the Tigers do kind of what they did last year, where they bring up, when they expand to the 28-man roster in September, where they bring up one prospect and one random reliever.
Yeah.
I could see that prospect being Dingler, honestly, because he's on the 40-man already. And it never hurts to have a third catcher down the stretch. And he's we used to complain all the time about his inconsistency, and he's really been solid for the last couple of weeks. So it's been a very nice development.
And one thing about Dingler too is that defensively, we talked about this before. We talk about this every week. Dingler's game is there defensively. You don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know about Brandon. What about you? In terms of seeing Dingler? You think before September? Or
I mean, you probably will see him before September just because catchers usually have an injury. Somebody will get injured, and he'll immediately get a look. So I'm sure you'll see him this summer. The thing I was just looking was to how much better it was in May, and 909 OPS in May compared to 701 in March, April, or in April. So that there's confirmation that something really has changed for him there. We've always known he could hit some tape measure shots and stuff, but he just looks like he's picking better pitches to swing at. He's laying off a little bit of tougher stuff. Maybe using the ABS and the just the tighter strike zone in general to his advantage, but that seems to be getting him in the zone more himself, to take swings on. And he's doing plenty of damage, which we knew he could do, but he's starting to hit a little bit more complex sequencing, starting to hit better breaking balls a little bit more. We need to see it extend, but I feel at least more encouraged. I pretty much had penciled him in as basically a Jake Rogers level hitter and kind of just somewhere different style, but similar results. And that's probably still where he is. But, if he can keep this going, he is a pretty solid fastball hitter and has been doing better against velocity and breaking balls. And that's what you're looking for. So, and don't worry about his defense at all. His defense, I think is pretty much rock solid and would only get better with Cinco and AJ screaming in his ear.
Yeah, the weather was bad down in the Midwest. There was a series of storms that came through enough to where it canceled the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday, and I think they postponed the race till today, I believe. Although I don't know who watches the Indianapolis 500 anymore, but for those race fans out there, as far as other pitchers go, Madden pitched this week. Was it he was banged up, Chris? Is that what it was?
I'm sorry, what? Who?
Madden?
I don't know. I think he was scheduled to pitch yesterday, and it got rained out. I think that's what happened. But honestly, I didn't look into it. I didn't really even notice it until I looked at the stats. I'm like, he didn't pitch.
Yeah, because I didn't know Lockhart got called up until the other day, and it was just kind of randomly happened. And among all that, too, Montero's the guy we'll be keeping a close eye on. And you mentioned his stats here that he hasn't had any 5-inning starts yet. He has pitched better as of late. Again, I'm not really concerned about it, but it does lean towards maybe possible reliever profile at this point in some ways. I don't want that to happen because I really want him to be a starter. But at this, the Tigers are going to have to. The Tigers consider any single possibility to get what they can out of their system right now, and it could be a possibility. Who knows?
Yeah, he's kind of pitching like Reese Olson to me a little bit, like missing too much with the fastball. He's obviously struggled a little bit to handle the a little tighter strike zone and stuff like that, but he's not really gotten hit that hard. Still striking out a solid amount of dudes, but the walks and, pitching in too much trouble, wasting too many pitches, not getting ahead of batters, the same things we've been waiting for him to, kind of develop on, probably since last summer, really. I mean, he kind of came on late last year, but, I just haven't seen a whole lot of progress. Like he looks good for the most part, but he still will just get out of whack for, a couple batters or an inning and take some damage. So he's still got work to do. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see him work with Fetter. I mean, I'm kind of happy to move anybody up just to kind of give them some finishing school with Fetter and Lund and Nieves up there. So if they wanted to try that, I'm not opposed to it. It doesn't mean he can't go back ever, but I've just always really tried to emphasize how durable he's been and how consistently he's held his velocity, because I still think people look at 6'1", 145 on his card and think oh, he's just a little guy, he'll never make it as a starter, so yeah, I mean, they could try that. I'd like to see a little bit better precision with the fastball before I think that's going to work at the major league level, even out of the bullpen though.
Yeah, it does. It just feels like he's 1 or 2 tweaks away from getting it back again. I put that in there because he was just so consistent last year. He was giving up hits and runs in Toledo, but he was going 5-6 innings every outing.
Yeah.
5 innings at least in his final 16 starts in 2023, and hasn't done it yet this year. Now, some of that may have been, they wouldn't let him early on, but lately
Right.
it seems like he's getting the pitch count up and struggling. And yeah, I mean, if they really desperately need a bullpen arm, I bet you he could come up, and it might be kind of fun to watch him air it out a little bit with the 2 breaking balls and just kind of shelve this change up for now. But and he's a guy I think you could go back to starting later on. But I guess there's no desperate need to do that right now. I mean, the bullpen's ugly, but you don't really know what you're going to get from Montero out of the bullpen either. So it's probably no need to do that yet.
Yeah, we have to bring up Trey Wingenter and a couple other guys to like prove
Sean
once
Gunther.
again that they can't quite do it. Yes.
Yeah, there's so many other guys that'll probably throw out there first before that happens. But there's somebody out there thinking that, because there was somebody there was another comment to them we had Montero too high on our list. But whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. It is what it is. So SeaWolves again, Altoona. Oh, I forgot to change this. They don't play Altoona next week. Sorry, do not play at Altoona. Greg will kill me for that, and I know better. So, that being said, the SeaWolves are on the road this week, as they again, great walk-up crowds this weekend. They are at Richmond again. It feels like they just went to Richmond, but then they come home next week and they'll take on the Fisher Cats. So the Blue Jays AAA affiliate. So that's going to AAA affiliate. Well, AA affiliate next week. But so Trey Cruz, like I mentioned earlier, just mashing the ball all over the place. Belmont Jerry, by the way, top 5 in the Tiger system in batting average too. I was just doing some batting average stuff earlier.
Really?
Yeah, batting 277. He's like 5th or 6th in the system right now in batting average. Quietly putting together a good year out there. Ray Allen him and Lee provided the only power for the SeaWolves. Again, the SeaWolves have a very different looking lineup in terms of from an offensive standpoint. But Troy Melton in his first, he got rocked a little bit, and so it was just a lot.
That's
Again,
two outings in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But also Altoona, to be fair, I think Altoona had they have guys like Seth Beers and former Tiger Tustin Peterson. It's more of a veteran team. It's not.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought they were kind of stacking the deck a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say that a couple of he was hanging some sliders, like a couple of something like, oh no, that pitch is not going to work. But I think you're right. It was you got some grizzled veterans there. Seems like Altoona always did that. Didn't they have a couple 30-year-olds last year when we saw them? Like, what are these guys doing hitting here? But I guess that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. From what it looked like, it was just dropping some breaking balls right into the sweet spot of right. It was all right-handed hitters, if I remember right. Just leaving breaking balls down and in, up in the zone to him. A couple fastballs right in that same spot where he's trying to go up more, and they didn't miss him this time. So. And that's what he needs, is to kind of get hit up. We said the same thing about Job a little bit, but Melton too, pretty much cruised through West Michigan last year. So taking some damage and forcing him to reassess, is probably a good thing. The breaking ball is still pretty inconsistent. Sometimes he breaks off a really, really nasty one, and other times it's sort of blunt. So I'm not 100% convinced that they've really settled on the final option there, and that'll probably keep getting tweaked and stuff. The changeup, though, I thought last year was pretty good, and this year it's been a pretty erratic, non-weapon a lot of the time. So, yeah, he's got some things to work on, and is finally starting to get stressed a little bit by the AA level. So that's probably all for the best for him. So,
yeah, for the record, this is the line. The last line is his. That's the line he had soon, not this one. So I forgot to delete that one. That's my bad. As far as Job's coming back, there has been talk about. I think I saw something earlier about that, right? That
he threw a bullpen, I think, Saturday. Yeah. So he should be working his way back, I would guess, in a week or two into a rehab assignment.
As Sam, the other broadcaster, Greg, said, please give us a prospect or two. Erie is still, hey, overall, they're third place. They're doing pretty well. And they have a big series against Richmond. And from there on out, the first half is not too far away too. So it's because draft time's coming up, and we'll be doing, like I said, we'll be doing some draft stuff soon. We're just finished updating our top 30. Greg. Wow. Chris just, we just did, has to freshen up the workman report that he did, and we're good to go from there. I just finished a report on Blake Dickerson, and so I didn't have much to work with, but still, either way, the reports are coming in. The Whitecaps against Lake County this week. Roberto Campos just men among boys, just 11 for 22, 4 doubles, 3 I'm sorry. Wow, I cannot type today. It's 4 doubles, 3 triples, and I'm an idiot. Yeah, just don't mind me. Sorry, I'm just like it's I put together a little Campos compilation a little bit here, so I wanted to show what he's been able to do this week. And of course, now I can't find it. It's the kind of day I'm
compilation. Yeah, he was really wearing them out. He had a good week. It was a strange series. The I think twice in that series, Lake County hit like late go ahead grand slams. Like, oh, come on, like cut it out. And one of them was Alex Mooney. You're like, eh.
Yeah.
Campos. I don't know. Like you're seeing a lot of good signs there. The strikeout rate is still high because, again, I think because that 1 week with the 14 strikeouts. But
yeah, here it is.
He's just wearing out that left field corner.
Yeah, you just see how much he's pulling the ball in the air, like we've been begging.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If he's going to pull the ball in the air, that's where I think, a couple more weeks of this, and he may have a change of address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think, maybe that strikeout rate is a little bit a part of also of him trying to do this, more aggressively because his pull percentage is way up. And, and that can mess with your approach in general at first. So just learning to settle into it.
Yeah.
Not force it.
I will say the one thing too, defensively, he's been getting better. I mean, he's been in terms of I would have to get some more. I'll hear what Dan Hasty would have to say about seeing Campos on a regular basis on his defense, because I know that's one thing that he's been really needing to work on. And from what limited I have seen him, he's done pretty well. But
and it was never about physical tools with him on defense, right? It was more about the judgment and the decision making and stuff. Because he had that great catch over the wall in right field earlier a couple weeks ago, and like you said, he's running better, I don't know. It's been nice to see, that's for sure.
And he's only 21. I keep feeling like he's been around a long time, and he's just getting started. He's could easily be at Lakeland and would be fine for the level. So
yeah,
he could be playing for Arkansas.
Yeah.
Is that where we've gone?
No, I don't know. I'm just picking a random SEC school, right? Like he could be a college junior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And LSU
Tiger. Jaden Ham, by the way, just because he threw 32 pitcher. Wow. I'm getting tired. I don't know what is with me tonight. 32 pitches in 1 inning, which is why he only pitched 1 inning, correct? Or 1 inning, correct?
Yeah, that's we've talked about this before, but we also got a lot of questions, and it's a policy at least through AA. It may be in AAA too, depending on who the pitcher is. I think they would let Matt Manning throw 35 pitches or whatever. But when you're dealing with prospects, if they throw 30 pitches an inning, that's it. They're out of the game. Doesn't matter. And we've seen that happen. Saw it happen with Wilmer Flores in West Michigan a couple years ago. Saw it happen with Ty Madden in Erie last year. I think they don't. That's their limit for guys. Like they don't want to push it after that, and that's fine. If you're gonna have a policy, you might as well, try to err on the side of caution and not push guys if they're being overworked. So, and actually, I think Ham got 2 outs relatively quickly in that inning, and that was like a walk and like 2 10-pitch at bats, and that was it.
Yep. Didn't give up a run. So
yeah.
So I had that going for him.
Yeah.
In terms of even he's I think he's like top 5 in the system now in batting average too. So he is. The one thing about Campos is
Campos.
Yeah,
real quick before, because we had a question on Campos separately. Just in terms of how he's been able to see the ball better, the air. In terms of his ground ball rate, we talked about this last week, has been cut down. The ball's been going more in the air. So those are things that factor into it. It's just the only thing you have to work so if he can do this in Erie, then you have something cooking there, because then again, Erie to me is the ultimate test. AA is where you want to be. And if you can hit AA pitching and be somewhat consistent with it with power, then you get much more noticeable on radar maps across the board.
You bring that swing to Erie, you're going to be winning a bunch of people's snowblowers.
Yeah. Oh, what's it? who's the snowblower company that does it?
I think it's Arians.
Yeah, Arians. Yeah.
I don't. It cracks me up. Yeah, they you take your sponsors you can get, right. Milk Beans More, whatever. And they have it's the Duskus Martin double play there at Erie, and I always just want to be like, yeah, it's a funeral home. I'm like, Duskus Martin. When you need 2 bodies eliminated with no questions asked, it's Duskus Martin.
So
But
yeah,
that's not what they go to.
it's if there's snowblowers. Yeah, Arians is spelled ARIENS. That is the snowblower they have over in, I believe it's left field. Yeah, so it's in the power alley. So yeah, if you're fit over there, you should be hooked up. Greg would have more of the details on that. The average age in Double A, I believe, is 23. I want to say
that sounds about right. I'm checking right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's usually, I think that's 23, maybe like 23 and a half, something like that.
Yeah. I guess the question is, Roberto Campos, Luke Gold, how soon do you guys think they're going to be promoted? I would see it's kind of coming up if they're both still kind of doing what they're doing for another couple of weeks. You'd expect to see them in June, right?
Well, that was we were actually texting each other about that, and it felt like if you're gonna get a McGonigal Clark promotion to West Michigan, then the 2 people who might go up to Erie for them would be, you got an outfielder and an infielder, it would be Campos and Gold.
Yeah,
it would make sense, but then I don't know what you're doing in Double A, who's going away, who's going to Triple A, but
yeah.
But it does feel like, I don't know. Last year, I don't think we got most of the promotions until closer into mid-June. That just feels like the time when they do it. But I mean, some of these, I tweeted it out today, and it was mostly just kind of clickbait. But yeah, I think we are getting close to some guys moving up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's about that time.
I think Campos more than Gold. I think Gold, based off the consistency and also the fact that here's why, where are you going to put Gold? I mean, that's a reason why you would keep him in West Michigan versus you can see maybe Balgeri, you can see somebody like that getting called up to AAA. As far as the infield goes, how you Lee's been getting some time at third. I saw him. He started at third on Thursday or on Friday. He had a good time. He had a play where he made the play, had plenty of time, and then just overthrew it. So the range was there. It was just kind of strange to go, what the hell was that? And that was when Garrett Hill was making his first appearance at SeaWolves uniform, where he had kind of a more simple windup. Like it was more like he just was like kind of like, and then the guy next to me is like, hey, that guy always looked like he makes it like throwing 96 so easy. And I said, no. It's either, but yeah, I think if you get a chance, if you put, let's say put Trey Cruz at AAA, for example, if he goes up to Toledo, then you move Workman over at short, you have Lee at third, and then you keep what you have over there at second and first.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, some of these guys are just getting too old. Like Trey, I don't really even care how Trey Cruz is doing. Like he's doing better. So he kind of needs to move up. Like he just needs to find out he's 25. Some of these guys are going to start just getting squeezed just by the nature of them having been around too long. And I mean, Workman's not too far from that either. Like while things are going well and he's made these changes and he's developing, I think it's a good idea to just kind of let it roll for another month or 6 weeks, something like that. But eventually you kind of have to start finding out. And, I kind of feel a little bit that way about Gold too. Like, I think he can stay at West Michigan and just keep doing what he's doing forever, but I'm not really seeing a whole lot change for him. And then there's also Keston Hura at AAA who, at the end of the month might leave. I mean, I think he's got the option to bounce. Maybe then Myers or Holton moves up, something like that, and then there's a spot for Gold. But as you say, as should be clear by the way we're talking about this, it all kind of is interrelated. And so you have to, kind of have to see one move lead to the other.
There are some guys in AAA that like Riley Unroe, I don't think might be long for this organization.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes. But
and Navigado, isn't going to be a priority. So if he ends up bouncing between AA and
that's true. Yeah, he could come back here. But and I just special note for Dom Johnson, who I think every time he's come up to West Michigan before his struggle, and he finally seems to be figuring some things out, which is kind of fun because he's a speedy spark plug type outfielder. Like if him and Stevenson are both doing what they can do, that's a real bummer for the other team at the top of the lineup because they're very fast and getting on base.
Yeah, they wreak a lot of chaos for sure when they're doing well. So that's fun.
Yeah, it is good to see that when there's the possibility of those guys, especially Stevenson and Johnson being like the fast guys, if you will. That does help out quite a bit because the rest of the bats this week at West Michigan, Pacheco, and
It's still waiting for any kind of consistency. Well, consistent good from him.
Yeah. I tried to frame him mentally as like, okay, where Wenzel and Parker were like 2 years ago, but they were still better. They never struck out, quite like this. So more of a workman comp maybe is accurate, but and Pacheco's 21 still, but it's just hard to see how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny 5 has a better chance to get the major leagues than
disassemble Stephanie.
Yeah,
Ellie Sheedy. Oh, those 80s hairstyles.
Yeah. Oh man, so weird that it's just 2 years removed from her doing Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club. Yeah. And there she is in this strange looking hair. Like, what was that movie with Dustin Hoffman? Harriet, or what's the movie where he plays across Tootsie?
Tootsie.
Oh yeah.
It looks like she's got a Tootsie wig on there. All right.
They mommed her, and she was only like 22 at that point.
No, that's it. Like in the 80s, you had to be able to play 16 and also 38.
Yeah. Somehow Elizabeth Shue in Adventures in Babysitting at that point was like in her third, like late 20s, but she was like 19 years old in that movie.
Yeah.
By the way, hardcore Elizabeth Shue crush. All right.
Right in there with Jamie Gertz and a few others. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. So the Flying Tigers, Chris. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, lots of walks,
real quick.
Lots of hits, lots of steals. We saw, I've kind of mildly complained about Max Clark's swing a few times, but he seemed to figure out something small where he's now, instead of hitting the ball on the ground the other way, he's just lining it down the left field line the other way consistently, which is a lot of fun. And he and McGonigal are just a terror at the top of that lineup right now. They're both walking a ton. They're driving in runs like crazy from the 1 and 2 spot. I think Clark has 30 RBIs this year. You see McGonigal at 8.
Yeah,
just a lot of fun to watch both those kids play, and I put it there because it's fun that they both have a 138 WRC plus in May. They're like almost identical players right now.
Yeah.
And so people keep asking, are they going to go up? And it's like, I would think at some point soon this may be one of those situations where they do want them to try to play for that playoff spot there, even if they won't be there, just to play in games that mean something. But who knows? Maybe whatever benchmarks they have internally. And one of the things I'll point out, and you can see there, Rainer Castillo's line there, that his first start, 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a couple things. One of the cool things, and I think Raj touched on it earlier, he basically had no trouble until his final inning when he loaded the bases with 1 out, and he got down 2-0 on the batter, and he's like, all right, well, whatever. And he threw 96, 97, 98, 3 straight pitches, swing and miss, got the guy out. I'm like, okay, we'll do that more.
Yeah.
There's still no change up really to speak of, and the breaking balls are a little bit inconsistent, but it's like you're throwing an awful lot of strikes for a guy sitting 96, touching 98. It's like there's something to work with there. But in that, you can watch that outing, you get 3 pretty good chances from Kevin McGonigal at shortstop, and looks pretty good. Yeah. Like the one question, like you see, he's got the timing, he's got the hands, he's got the arm strength. It seems like the only question I don't know about his range. That would be the one big question, but I don't know. Just a lot to like going on there with Lakeland, and even the college guys are producing like crazy. You see, Jim Jarvis had an awesome week. He's been great in May. Early
Brett Callahan, a bunch of guys like late in the order have been getting on base a ton, and that's where all those RBIs are coming from. Smith and Callahan, Samuel Hill's been doing well. So,
one of the other things I looked at, I was just this is more like an inside the numbers thing that we would use on the other show, but I was like, all right, so the Tigers have 4 19-year-olds playing regularly in the lineup. I mean, Briseño's hurt right now with the knee issue, which is unfortunate. And I was like, all right, how many 19-year-olds have 100 plus plate appearances and have a WRC plus over 100 in low A? And it's 42. And the Tigers have 4 of them. All 4 of the Tigers regulars, and they're all in the top 24. So Clark, McGonigal, Briseño, and Heel all are among the most productive 19-year-olds in A-ball, which is kind of fun. It's been a while since we could say anything like that for the Tigers.
Oh yeah, right on. Yep. And we see a lot of good arms down there, like a lot more stockpile of like power arms than I've ever seen. So from the bullpen, Tweezy, Yosber Sanchez, to a lot of the starters that they drafted last year are, at least like look like they have the potential to be high 90s guys eventually.
Or a guy too like Evans as well. That's a power arm that could potentially still early on, but
yeah.
Somebody
pointed out it.
Pardon me.
Sorry, somebody Stugatz was pointing out Santana hasn't been playing recently. Yeah, that's a question mark. He has not played since May 12th, and I don't believe he's listed on the injured list or on any injury reports. So I don't really know what's going on there.
I can ask Terry, because Terry, who's Tiger minor league tracker, she might have some insights about that. So I should actually shoot her a DM. They're playing in Clearwater this week, which is a big game for them because they're chasing Clearwater right now for the first half title. But there's a couple arms too. You mentioned too, Andrew Sears, who's just been, outside the walks a little bit still. I mean, you gotta be encouraged with that. And we've talked about Thomas Bruss before. He's still having some command issues, but what was it? Hiker is, I don't say his name.
Hiker Weezy.
8 innings this month, just one hit given up, one walk, and 9 strikeouts.
Yeah.
In the month of May. So
he looks good. And Zach Lee, that guy that, undrafted, I think free agent from last summer. He's looked pretty good. Sears has that funky lefty angle going and looks pretty impressive. There's some real arms down there.
And then I just highlighted a couple interesting things down there. The relievers was just going through the StatCast data, and Quinn Goditis has a very high spin slider. It gets up to 3,000 pretty regularly. And Blake Pivaroff, who I was like, I think they took him in the 19th round last year out of Arizona State, and his fastball is like 91, 92, but it's got crazy spin for a four-seam fastball, that velocity. It's I don't know, it just they took him probably just because of that, like, well, this is interesting. And he also got a high spin cutter, but just a couple, fun projects down there that they can work with. Yeah.
Yep. Hopefully develop those guys, build them up a little bit, add some velocity, and go from there. So. But yeah, it's been pretty impressive. There's just not so many guys down there where you're just like, okay, write that guy off, write this guy off, the way it used to be. Just about everybody you can kind of see something to work with. So yeah, it's just a much different system than it used to be, and the impact of last year's draft is being felt for sure all over the place.
Before we move on to Lakeland, Walter wanted to know, we didn't talk about the Gargo promotion. We did talk about this a little bit Thursday, and basically, I mean, I'm not saying not being promoted to a different title doesn't mean anything. He was touring the minor leagues. I think, he was touring the minor leagues last week. As far was it imply anything impactful, anything? No, he's just continuing to do the great work that he's doing.
My only thought is that I'll just to add this, the only thought is that teams are probably sniffing around him a little bit.
Yes.
And you have to promote him to make it harder for them to hire him, because they have to hire him to a higher level in the way those front office jobs are laid out. Yeah. So, if someone wants him to be their assistant general manager and VP, they have to ask the Tigers now to interview him. They could only offer him like a GM job, and the Tigers would have to be like, well, all right, you can interview for that. So it just I just think it's just to lock him down.
Yeah. And they made Giblin, she was also made a VP, and then they added a new head of analytics, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right. Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, it sounds right.
And he comes from hockey. Yeah. And he's a hockey guy, maybe sort of like Greenberg's contacts with the Blackhawks might have hooked him up there. But I guess Andrew Thomas was one of the first guys to apply, to create a war stat for hockey. And to kind of build out a publicly facing site where you could kind of see all this data, and everybody who worked for that site got hired up really quickly as analysts and have been a big part of building analytics departments all over the league. So that could be a really good hire. It's kind of interesting to go into a different sport. Wonder if he gets confused sometimes. Do we need to get bigger in the blue line, or is it the bullpen?
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are exactly right? Like this, I don't think any of their jobs change substantially at all. It's just an increase in status and presumably a decent chunk of change, right? But it is to prevent other people from poaching them, right? So good on the org for being able to do that. Yeah,
Chris Hillis spending money.
Yeah, there you go. And then Steven, to answer Steven's question, when there's more hiring power for his staff, Steven, he's done a really good job of hiring people already, so I don't think it doesn't change that much to him. But he continues to really implement. Like I said, there's just been a lot of things that he's implemented that are common sense everywhere else, but have not been part of Detroit's MO for forever. I mean, again, this is an organization, and this goes back further than the David Dombrowski era. This goes back to before when Randy Smith took over back in 1995. The Tigers farm system has always been behind. It's always been behind no matter what. It has been. You can talk about the fruits of labor from the 84 World Series were there. That was all from like 2 drafts. But after that, it has been very, very, very scarce, if anything, in terms of production from your minor leagues. So the fact that they've been able to modernize it, the fact that they have, things like a program where they're lifting weights or they're sticking to a profile where pitchers are getting like, hey, this is a pitch you're supposed to be working on, individualized plans. Those things are huge. And as much as I know people complain about, well, the farm system hasn't done all this, and there's, there's progress. There's significant progress. And the Dominican Republic complex too as well. So it has been a bad thing for a long time. Eddie, thank you for the compliment to the weekly numbers. You do a great snapshot of young players' progress. The development has been bad for a long time. It's gotten better. There's still ways to go, but Ryan Garko has a big part of it. So speaking of that, though, the FCL complex team is in first place, and they're getting production from all over the place, Chris. I mean, there's a guy like Raylan Perez, but
he's still only 19, right? Yeah,
he's only 19. But one name that we've talked about too a couple times, 2 names, Nomar Fana and Fran Yerber Montalella, who have been really they're hitting their stride.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Enrique Jimenez was their big signing last year, I think, as it were, and he's playing well. He's hitting a bunch of doubles. He's walking more than he's striking out, which is good to see for a young kid like that. Fana, I don't really know. He plays a lot of center field, but he's built he kind of reminds me of Iverson Leonardo. I don't know if people ever saw him, but he's like stout, like a stout center fielder. You don't normally see that, and he's old, like 21 in the FCL is old. I don't want to like dismiss him out of hand just because of that, but normally if a guy's 21, you want to see him at least in A-ball. Maybe he'll be there soon. But yeah, Franier Montilla is very interesting. As a he was 2 years in the DSL, which again you don't necessarily want to see, but he was relatively young. He had just turned 17, I think, when the first season started, and so he just turned 19 before this year, and he's putting up numbers and playing shortstop a decent amount, and it's good eye at the plate so far. Definitely a name to remember there, and
I think Anibal Salas as well. Another one of the recent IFAs who is one of their bigger expenditures has been pretty good so far. Just showing a lot of discipline at the plate, not really doing tons of damage or anything, but looking like a pretty advanced hitter at this point.
And he's supposed to be pretty tooled up too on defense, like big time arm. So yeah, that's another one where like last year's international class looks kind of interesting. It's obviously it's early, you never really know, and you want to see these guys face more competition, but so far so good. So it's kind of exciting down there, and I think we'll get to see tomorrow's game. They play these, they do like home and home games, and they hosted the Phillies today, and usually when they're playing at the Phillies, we get to actually see it on YouTube. So although Montilla came out of the game today after 2 at-bats, so it would be a real bummer if we miss him again tomorrow. But
oh no. Did Dickerson pitch today?
He didn't. Wilson pitched today. Okay. He pitched the final 4 innings of the game, actually, or at least until I think somebody else came in the 10th because they went to extras.
Oh yeah.
I did want to address somebody that said that Willie Castro and Cody Clemens lays to improve elsewhere. I don't know. They're not. They're part-time players. They're not players that are. I mean, they're good role players. Put them under full-time status. What are they? They're just.
Neither one of them was a Garco guy, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't understand.
25 by the time Garco got here.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, they're former Tigers that were part of the system, but I mean, that's a far cry from guys that are long gone. I mean, look at list goes on and on. Former Tiger, like just I mean,
the frustrating thing with Willie Castro is that as soon as he got to Minnesota, he seemed to discover some form of plate discipline, which you had none of here. And I don't know if that was, but we saw that forever with like every player that Alavila ever acquired was like, they just went after guys who could put the bat on the ball and didn't have them walk at all. It was like, what?
Yeah.
And normally you don't think of somebody who's been able to develop at that, but it was year over year. Castro was like 3 to 5% walk rate with the Tigers, and he goes to Minnesota, it's instantly 8%. You're like, well, that's league average. That would work if you had done that here. But I don't know. I don't know if they taught him something in Minnesota or if he found something himself. It's that part's frustrating, but what are you going to do?
I mean, we know AJ Hinch was harping on him about it, so maybe that's it. You know, there was no emphasis on plate discipline throughout the whole system, and then you get to the major leagues, and your manager's just like pissed at you all the time because you're swinging at junk, you know. And it's a big adjustment. That could very well be kind of what it looked like from Willie Castro's perspective. Like nobody said anything about this, and now I'm up at the major leagues, and everybody's just screaming at me to take walks, and I don't, you know, that kind of thing can take a lot of adjusting to do. So.
Yeah, I mean, and with the Phillies, with the case of Cody Clemens, you're playing on the best team that the Phillies have had historically ever. And when you're, yeah, I mean,
Cody, I don't even care about Cody Clemens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm saying like 35 at bats or 35 played, at bats. Yeah,
Andre Lipser's just tearing it up for the Dodgers, boys. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, Clemens has 3 home runs and he's hitting 294, but like you said, 36 plate appearances. He's 28-year-old, playing first base.
His wife will yell at you if you don't say anything nice about.
If he's playing well, then I'm happy for Cody Clemens, right? But it was.
Well, I'm talking about Andre Lipsius. Somehow his wife has taken this really weird turn on. You guys have always said like.
She complained about us?
No, just in general, like, just complaining.
Let's not talk about family members. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. It's each your own.
Oh,
it's a hard business to be married into. I mean, it's whatever. I sent Keith's mom a note the other night because I was like, I know it's been rough. You know, everybody's screaming at your kid and stuff.
Eddie, I don't know what you're talking about with Riley Green. Riley Green's been very significantly good. I mean, you can take you silly will about Torque, but
Riley Green was slumping for 3 weeks. And what's going to happen is he's going to come out of that slump and hit like 400 for about 3 weeks, and he's going to carry the team again because how old was Riley Green? 23.
23.
Yeah, 23 years old, and it was funny. Evan Petzold wrote an article, I think, where Riley Green was trying to figure it out, and he talked to his hitting specialist or whatever. He was like, "Dude, you're just super late on everything." He's like, "Oh, all right." It's like, "Oh, yep, that was it. I figured it out." But then he didn't play. Oddly, they score 14 runs. He doesn't even get in the game. But
somebody tell Torkelson the same thing. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit interesting that Riley didn't get in as a pinch hitter late in that game. I think if we look at Willie Castro and Isaac Paredes, like both of them were guys who had like a specific thing that they couldn't fix, and that the Tigers probably didn't really start getting on them to correct until they reached the major leagues. And AJ was all over Paredes to hit the ball to left field and to pull the ball in the air. He couldn't do it the first year with AJ. He gets traded. He figures it out. Willie Castro, probably the same deal. They were on him. He had a really good short season in 2020, and we were all impressed, but that was also pretty BABIP driven. And then they started getting on him to be more selective, and he couldn't do it. And they finally gave up on him, and it worked out for him so far with the Twins. And that's fine. The problem with getting rid of Willie Castro and Jeimer Candelaria was not letting those guys go. It was that they didn't get anybody better. I thought they were going to replace them with players. So that was the point, I thought. So anyway.
Yeah, they got nothing for him.
Yeah, sometimes these things happen.
Okay, this is the last thing I'll address with this. Kirk would improve another team with fresh ideas. If he doesn't want to change his swing mechanics, the team has asked him to do, then how's the Tigers' fault then? If he doesn't want,
there might be a wake up call in it, but yeah, it's not like they haven't told him, he's late
over and over and over again. And it's the point where when you go down there, you don't ask him about it because he doesn't want to talk about it. And I've been there.
They have 3 hitting coaches. They don't prevent guys from working with outside coaches. We're still waiting on them to develop a bunch of good hitters, but I don't think they're just nincompoops now who aren't trying to help guys. It's Torkelson has some issues. We saw when he was on last year, it was working great, right? It's been off most of this year. I don't think that's a lack of the Tigers trying to help him or trying to figure him out, figure it out. Maybe, I don't know. Like you see this with baseball. Sometimes guys don't really get things going until their late 20s. I saw somebody talk about Phil Nevin. Sometimes sluggers it takes them a while to figure out. We've compared Torkelson to like Brent Rooker. and he may just be a streaky kind of guy like that. So I don't know. Like
Julio Rodriguez has already like had big success in the majors and has struggled, and maybe he just let it slip a little bit, didn't work as hard in the offseason. Who knows? But it can be very easy to lose that little bit of an edge for sure. And I don't know. I don't know if Torkelson's like resistant. I don't really know what it is. All I know is that his hands are still moving back, when the pitch is well on its way. And seeing that part of it is simple. Correcting it is where the issue lies. And I don't know if he's fighting it or what is going on there, but the dude cannot hit fastballs right now. And until that issue gets resolved, he's not really a major league player as a first baseman, at least not a starter. And I don't know. I'm kind of getting to the point. I'm not like ready to move on from Torkelson or anything, but I am past really worrying about him because he's not going to be a big impact player. You can get a first baseman. Spencer Torkelson is not going to stand in the way of the Tigers' long-term progress, and he's probably not going to contribute that much to it either. And until something major changes, that's pretty much where it's at.
Hey, I would stand up for Phil Nevin over here, saying Phil Nevin's not a good outcome. Yeah, he's like a 15 WAR player, had a couple 30, 40 home run seasons. Like that, you'll take that. Like,
is Tyler still hot? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I've talked about it. We talked about before the average, the dead average 1-1 pick in MLB history is Pat Burrell.
Yeah,
who was like a 17 WAR player who hit a bunch of home runs and walked a bunch. He walks more than Torkelson. We kind of thought Tork would walk more than he has, I think.
Yeah, this year especially, it's been down a lot.
But that's we all want 1-1 to work perfectly, and it just doesn't. I don't know. Just go back and look at drafts. I was looking at the 2017 draft today because I was remembering when I traded in my fantasy league. I traded Casey Mize and Brendan McKay for Jose Ramirez. And you go back and look at the 2017 draft, and the best player by WAR out of that draft is Tanner Houck, who was like 35th or something like that. Like, it just, you never know. 1-1 doesn't always mean that you're gonna work out.
It's a good argument for keeping your top prospects and trading everyone else. Everyone.
There you go.
at peak value. Get major league players in here.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to nitpick, I mean, if we're going to continue to nitpick his stats, that he's 2 for 22 and bases loaded. I don't know. You can't win with everybody, and that's as simple as that. If it's either he's going to be good or he's not. He hit 30 home runs last year. That has to count for something. I don't know. I mean, he leads the league he's in the top 3 in doubles.
I mean, the hitting coaches aren't teaching you how to hit with the bases loaded. That's a brain coach thing.
Yeah.
So.
And then they're not supposed to be teaching you how to hit at all, really, at the major league level. It's just about how to adjust from game to game and pitcher to pitcher, really, for the most part. Try to get you on track when your timing's bad and whatever. But, nobody's overhauling your swing unless it's, going really bad and you're actively looking for that help. Because for the most part, guys don't want to hear that in the half hour to hour they have per day to hit in the cage and whatever. So, you're just trying to make tweaks and adjustments for the most part.
Let me just put this thing in perspective for you before we get out of here. Simple as this, okay? I sat through a draft. I sat through a draft class, ladies and gentlemen. The prime of in high school. Here's what I had to deal with in terms of draft classes. We all had to deal with this. Ready? Eric Munson, 1999. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
1999. What did he do? Jack Squat. He did nothing. Okay. All right. So there you go with that. So as far as Matt Anderson, you pick a damn reliever as your second pick overall. I mean, come on. I'm like
a college reliever. It wasn't like a starter who became a reliever. He was a college reliever.
A college reliever at a school that was notoriously known to burn out arms at Rice University. Yep. It's still known for that. No
he almost threw 100.
Yeah, no offense.
Eddie, all I can say about that Torque's bases loaded thing is, Javier Baez hits great with runners on and runners in scoring position. Is he, do you really want him on your team though? You can kind of you can chop these things up in all kinds of ways.
You can chop these up in all these want. But the Tigers' development from 20 years ago to now has come a long ass way. So whether you want to go back to that, you want to go back to Matt Anderson, you want to go back to Eric Munson, Jeff Weezer, Nate Neho, Adam Pettyjohn, go ahead. Take those days. I'm done. All right. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I have witnessed the shittiest points of Tiger baseball. Part of my language. But you can't have it both ways. Okay, you see some sort of progress for once. Just take it for what it is. It's progress. Comparatively speaking to what this was before, this farm, you have Kerry Carpenter. And no one's talking about Kerry Carpenter but us earlier this evening. This 19th round. I mean, come on. I mean, no, it hasn't. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm talking to one guy in here, Eddie.
Yeah.
Look at. I'm sorry.
It's not debatable.
Pitching,
They're
you
way
totally
better.
ignored the pitching. You haven't mentioned anything about the pitching. Poor. Yeah. Okay. All right. Right. The pitching has been poor. Okay. Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I will
2 years into.
Go ahead.
We're 2 years into Ryan Garco. 20, 30 years before that, there was nothing. We have never seen player development in any capacity in the system until the last 2 years, and Ryan Garco brought it. And I don't know if Ryan Garco is going to turn them into like a really good player development system. All I know is that they're now like above average, highly respectable, doing certain things really well. And, hopefully they can keep growing from there. But I mean, there's no comparison. There was nobody. I mean, you could have put anybody into coach 10 years ago and they would have been as good as anything they had.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just nothing going on. There was no coordination. There was no plan. There was no idea of how they were trying to develop each guy, let alone like facilities, people who understand how to use pitch design, or the other technology.
You don't know what the hell pitch design was, man. I mean, that's
it's just a bunch of old baseball dudes just standing around like throwing BP. I mean, that's all it was.
What they're saying.
So,
we've had coaches tell us. We've had people tell us. Chris and I, they told Chris and I, "Oh, just do your thing." What the hell does that even mean? Do your thing. That's what we're told before. The player development, again, I'm not saying it hasn't been bad. Eddie, if you pay attention to what I'm saying, yes, it's been bad for a long time, but it has gotten better. So there's been progress for it. Mm-hmm. We're going to ignore the pitching here? Are we going to ignore Kerry Carpenter? Are we going to ignore Riley Green? Are we going to ignore Cole Keith, for Christ's sake? What?
Yeah. Not to mention like guys who weren't doing anything and then got better, like Parker and Wenzel, like very specific examples of where they changed their swing, changed their approach under Garco at their specific direction, and got a lot better.
Yeah, Perez.
Anyway.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I was also going to just say to Jeremy Anderson, dude, I love Javi too. I wish this would work out so badly because I really love Javi as a player. Loved him with the Cubs. His story, like everything that he's been through in his life, he's a dude I would just love to be playing great for us because I would just worship him as my personal shortstop god. But we are where we are. I have to, I'm afraid.
So I would, Deadly Ninja Beast did ask twice. He said, "What's the best Tigers draft of the last 40 years?" And that's kind of fun.
1976. I did post the 1976 draft, which
had
Alan Trammell.
Yeah, that's not the last 40 years though.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, well, wait, 76 would be.
I was born in 1980 and I'm 43.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I suck at math. Okay. So
it really, I mean, there was a whole lot of nothing in the 80s and the 90s. You talked about it. Like, it depends on how you define a draft, right? Because if you get that top pick right, like say 2004, and you get a pitcher who's a Hall of Famer, that works okay.
You know what? The 1998 draft might be the best Tigers draft they've ever had. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because if this is bad, but Jeff Weaver, Nate Cornejo, Jeff Weaver, Brandon Inge, and that's it. I mean, that like as far as I'm sorry, Andre Torres was in that draft too.
Oh yeah,
remember him? He was a giant Tiger for a little while. That 1998 draft might be there. The 2000 draft. I'm trying to go back here. The Tigers have had some all-time stinkers. The 2000 draft, they drafted Matt Wheatland out of a right-handed pitcher and Chad Petty back to back, and Nook Logan, Mark Woodward. Ugh, like just these awful draft. Just okay.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Chris.
Well, it's tough to find. Like, I don't know. There are certain drafts where they ended up getting a decent amount of big leaguers. Like 2005, I think they had maybe a dozen guys reach the big leagues, and that was like, I think that was the Brendan Bosch, Cameron Maben, Matt Joyce year. 2018. I mean, we talked about Casey Mize might just be a number 4 starter. You had the one pick. It's not great, but you also got Parker Meadows. You got Tarek Skubal in that draft. That's not bad. And honestly, like 2019, we were talking about Carpenter and Riley Green. Like, if those two guys hit and become, the force in your middle of your order, that's one of the best drafts in the last 40 years for sure. And they also got Brisky and Brendan White, and Colton Ingram has made the big leagues out of that draft, and Kreidler has, and Lipsius.
Yeah.
So
Not a bad one. Definitely.
That's not bad one either. You know what? Okay, guys, I want to ask you guys this before we get out of here. I'm going to ask you the 2001 draft. Out of that 2001 draft, this might be a stretch, but how many? I'm going to ask anybody in the chat too, just in case. How many major leaguers do you think came out of that? There's a stretch of, by the way, there was a stretch of 5 years where the Tigers got nothing from the first round draft picks. 5 years. 5 effing years. Nothing.
Yeah.
But the 2001 draft, who do you think came out of that? How many major leaguers think came out of that?
I have
2.
no idea. So.
All right.
I'm going to go 2.
You would be correct. Jack
Okay.
Anahan, who was more known to elsewhere, Mike Robello, and Ryan Rayburn. And Don Kelly.
Damn it.
Whew. Bonderman was a trade, I believe. So, I mean.
Yeah, Bonderman was the A's. That was the famous he
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to get picked by the A's, and Billy Bean threw a chair, right? That was the famous.
Yeah.
And then he was then traded to the Tigers in the Carlos Pena deal for Franklin Herman. And who else was?
Yeah.
Or no, they got Franklin Herman. Who did they trade? Was that the Jeff? That was the Jeff Weaver trade. What trade wasn't it? Was it a 3-team trade?
Yeah.
I don't remember who went to the A's in that deal.
Bullocks. I used to remember this.
More Pepsi?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. No, besides Jeff Weaver, I mean, who went to the A's from the Cardinals side of the thing, or was it not Cardinals?
Was it the Yankees, I think.
Yeah, it was the Yankees. Yeah, that's right. It was oh, okay, I got it. So it was Franklin Herman and Carlos Pena to the Tigers. The Yankees sent Jason Arnold, John Ford Griffin, Ted Lilly to the A's. Tigers sent Cash to the A's, and the Oakland sent Jeremy Bonderman to the Tigers. So that was it.
Anyway,
there you go. All right. On that note, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate that. The 1985 draft. Okay, well, we can go on and on about drafts. Don't forget to check out our Thursday show, the Motor City Metrics podcast, as we'll probably be previewing the Boston series. And don't forget to check out all our great content over at TigersMLReport.com. Our top 30 is updated. We got reports coming out. We got articles. And again, thank you for the donations. We did receive one again. Dan Hasty, voice of the Whitecaps. Thank you. Hopefully, you had a good time in Chicago. And Brandon, I didn't even know Brandon off the mic, but
he probably had to get some water.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the prospect stuff is done, then it's draft time. You know, we got I think the College World Series field was announced today, so we're getting closer. The high point of the college season. You're going to see some guys out there who are going to increase their stock. So look out for your James Tibbses of the world and Christian Bingies and all that.
Yeah, there'll be some draft content from us. Trust me. There'll be a draft show as well. I'm not going to do any jumping in pools this year or anything like that. I'm getting too old for that nonsense. So we'll figure out something else. Maybe pie to the face or something. I don't know.
That'd be full draft pie to the face.
Pie to the face. Yeah, you know what? I think people would love a pie to the face. So there we go. Maybe we'll do something like that. Raise money somehow for some charity. But either way, we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.